Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Bryan, who was a coach, baseball coach over at Prentice School. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Hey, good to see you.
Well, it's been a long time. You and I have got a history, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you grew up in Hampton playing just about all the sports.
Right. Grew up in Fox Hill, which was, looking back on, was a great time to grow up down there. A lot of sports, baseball, basketball, football, and a lot of people to play it. And so we did that continuously.
Some of your coaches?
I had so many. I hate to mention too many because I always forget one, but Wade Trainum stands out in my mind. He was my first coach down at Fox Hill, and Wade was a kicker in the NFL for a short period of time, and to this day we still stay in contact. He lives up in Middlesex, and we stay in contact, a couple times a month. And his son actually played golf at the apprentice school. So.
That's right, because and a lot of people don't know, but Wade in high school was a great golfer.
Right.
He was a scratch golfer. He was just a great athlete.
Right.
So you growing up and you got Wade Trainum. Of course, you didn't know the history back then. He was just he was
my coach and down there, and he was just like one of the kids. As time went on, I saw what he accomplished in sports, and he did a great job.
Now,
a lot of respect for him.
Did you have more love for baseball, or is that just where you started to excel at?
Playing all the sports, it was different back then. In August, you put down the bat and the glove, and you picked up the football, and then in November, you picked up the basketball. So I liked all three equally, but as time went on, baseball was my first love.
Right.
Of course.
Then you went through elementary school, and then you ended up over at Sims Junior High School. It was junior high school back then. We had the sports in the junior high school, and you and I were talking. You said that was really an advantage when you went to the high school because you got to play 3 years of competitive sports.
Correct. Yeah, that was really great there. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade back in those days were junior high school. And Sims, it was a great place to play. Great coaches. Coach, you being one of them, Harold Watson, Lester Sapp. I can go on, and that really set a good foundation for me. Those days were, even during the baseball games, I can remember back then when they let the whole school out to go watch a 1 o'clock baseball game, and here I am, a little 7th, 8th grader. I'm pitching in front of 1,000 of my schoolmates. Yeah, right. And that's pretty exciting. And I didn't know it at the time, but that must have certainly could help me later in life when I had to play in front of big crowds and all.
Right. Well, but I know I don't know if you played football at Sims, but I know you played basketball because you played for me.
Right.
And you played with Steve James was on your team, Rocky Copley and Gary Dowdy, just to remember a few of them.
Chip No, who me and Chip still stay in contact. That's the great thing about sports. And
a lot of people don't know his daddy was a coach at VCU.
Chuck No is a Hall of Famer at Virginia Tech, and Chip, I will say, Chip was one of these guys. He loved basketball due to his father's history. Right. Chip No could have played pro baseball in my mind.
He was that good.
He was that good. He was a D1 player as it was, but he just loved basketball, and he kind of missed his opportunity.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, but at least he made that decision.
Right.
Somebody else didn't make it for him, and that's good. Right. Well, you left Sims and you went over and played legendary coach.
Right.
Buddy Denton.
Coach Buddy Denton, yes.
And that had to be itself.
It was great. It was great playing for Coach Denton. Like I say, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade was high school back then, and I was fortunate enough to come in, and I based a lot of this on being able to play in junior high school. I was able to step into the starting rotation as a 10th grader at Kickotan, and Coach didn't give me the opportunity, and it was we've had a long-standing relationship and friendship ever since.
Right. Now, you were basically a pitcher. Did you play? Because a lot of times, especially in high school, you play other positions besides just pitching.
I was a pitcher infielder. Yeah, I was pretty versatile at the time, and luckily I was able to play different positions: third, short, first. Play a little outfield. The only position on the field that I never wanted to do was catch, and so I have a lot of respect for catchers as well.
I do too.
Yeah, that's one I never did want to attack that one.
So, growing up and playing for Kickotan, of course, you watched Kickotan when you were in junior high school and growing up, and then to be able to play for them. Those 3 years that you played, how could you sum that up in a few sentences? How the experience of that?
Great tradition. We used to have great crowds come out to the game,
Right.
and when we went to the field, we expected to win.
Right.
But we had some great rivalries. Warwick was a great rivalry. Bethel was a tremendous rivalry. Menchville became a big rivalry for
Right.
us. So it was very Ferguson back then was a good
Right.
town.
Now, then you when you graduated, you took a different path. A lot of people looking at college. You didn't.
No, I for the summer I was going to go into the shipyard and decide what I was going to do. And Doug Burris, who had just got the head job at the apprentice school, he was a Legion umpire. And
Right.
while I was playing my last year Legion ball, he basically was recruiting me during the game. And so the more he talked to me, the more I was interested. And I went to the apprentice school in August of '74.
Okay. But let's back up a little bit and talk a little bit about Legion ball, because now in Legion ball, not all the kids coming from Kecoughtan. They're coming from other areas too that you're playing. Who'd you play for?
I played
48?
for Post 48,
Right.
Rex McKinley, Buddy Denton, and then my last year, Tommy Gear. I think it was Pembroke and Kecoughtan were
Okay.
combined, and people don't realize what kind of quality of baseball that was.
Right.
There was no AAU ball, there was no travel ball. Legion was the cream of the crop.
Right.
And I guess part of it is I look these days and I go to Legion games, I see 50 people in attendance, and I tell people, I said, when I was playing, it was nothing to have 400 or 500 people at a regular season Legion game,
Yeah.
and if it was a district game or an all-star game, you may have 1,000.
Right.
And-
It's completely different than what it is now.
Completely different.
And I don't know if it's because of oversaturation. I don't know what the whole
I think it's
situation
diluted.
is. But now you go to the apprentice school and you play immediately.
Right. Go in and play for 4 years. Played for Coach Burris, great guy to play for. And like all my coaches, I learned something from every coach I've had, some good, some bad. But I've always learned something from all my coaches.
Okay.
And Doug was a great one there.
Right.
Very good day.
Then you graduate and immediately become assistant coach.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, you go from playing to coaching.
Yeah, never had a break. It might have been a few months there, but
Right.
right. In '78, after I graduated in '78, I was hired as third base coach there at.
Talk a little bit about that experience, because now you're doing things that you saw other coaches do.
Right.
And
I think one of the big things, I played for Doug, played for him for 4 years, and I was his assistant for 11 years. And the great thing about Doug was, and I try to do that with my assistants now, if I've just got them out there just to hit fungos or throw batting practice, I want them involved in game management and decisions.
Okay.
And ultimately I've got to make the final decision. But he was great to me about letting me have input, and I feel like I'm the same way with my assistants.
well,
at this time.
and that just makes sense. That if you got an assistant, he's going to look at things from a different point of view sometimes than you, and give you some ideas that oh wow, yeah, that might work.
Oh yeah, like I say, if you're going to have the assistants out there with the experience, especially the assistants I have, you better listen to them, or something doesn't make something doesn't make sense.
So you've been down there what? How many years now? 23 years?
I'm starting my 23rd year as the head coach. Horace Underwood hired me in '89.
And what did you tell Horace?
I told Horace, forget about all the baseball stuff and all. And he asked me why I would be a good hire. And I said, well, I feel like I'm qualified, Horace, in this program, but also you'll never, in my opinion, you'll never be looking for another baseball coach here in your tenure. And as it turned out, 23 years later, I was right. Horace is gone, and I'm still
you're
here.
still there. Horace is gone, and you're still there. All right. Some of your coaches you had John McDonald and who you have now.
John McConnell, who was
sorry.
coach high school down in Pocosin there. Ben Jones, who holds about every pitching record for us at the apprentice school.
Right.
And, of course, Buddy Denton is
See,
back
now
with
this
us.
is the thing, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but here you are. You played for Buddy, who is, to me, is legendary in the field of baseball. You're not going to get a more knowledgeable coach, coach that has done been very, very successful, and now he's one of your assistants.
Right.
That's kind of surreal.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I say, we've had a long-standing relationship, and when he became available 13 years ago, I knew that we wanted to get him in the program. And like he said, this is the last job in baseball he plans on having. And he'll stay there as long as I want him, and for me to let him know when he's ready to when he's ready to go.
Ready to go to pasture.
Yeah, I haven't let him know that yet.
Well, but evidently, you have developed this this friendship with Buddy that became a coach player, now a player. I mean, a coach.
Right.
20. How many years has it been that you've been with?
Since 1972. I think Coach Denton first, and you notice I still call him Coach, like I still call you Coach. Anybody that ever coached me is still Coach.
Still Coach, right?
Yeah. I think it was 1971. He came out and we were playing Jeff Davis in the championship game of the city, and that was the first time he had seen me and I'd seen him. And then that's kind of where it started at there. He knew what he was getting the next year, I guess. so he did his homework, and so ever since, we owned a batting cage together for 12 or 13 years up on Mercury Boulevard, and he's, like I say, he's been with us for 13 years, and hopefully another 13.
I talk to Buddy every time I see him, and I can tell that he's still young at heart.
Oh yeah.
That he that he loves. He can't wait for baseball season to come around again.
Yeah, it's evident that he loves it, and like I say, it's hard to replace that. He's and I've learned something from every coach I've had, but Buddy is very organized, detailed, stats, and the kids love him. A lot of times, when you're assistant coach, all the kids love you. They don't like the head coach.
Yeah.
Buddy was different there. When he was a head coach, everybody loved him also. Yeah.
So your whole philosophy then came from all the coaches, but probably the most impact would be Buddy.
Yeah, that was the years, I think, when I was playing, when I really, when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, really had a big impact on me. And so, like I say, I learned from everybody. Take you, for example. I always remember back when I think I found out I wasn't the most talented guy in basketball. You had me out there. We had a great team back and had some good individual players, but if you worked hard in practice, you could get some minutes in a game. And that's what I took away from you.
Oh, I appreciate it. But I do want you to tell that one story. You were playing at Buckrow.
Right.
And you made a basket.
Right.
A free throw, you reach up and you tipped it, and it goes in the basket for the wrong team.
Yeah, I tipped it. I went in, tipped it in. I'm not sure the exact sequence there, but I tipped it in, and I was starting to feel pretty good about myself. I turned around, was running back. I was going to get on defense, and I looked over my shoulder. We had a little point guard named Dino Gray, and I looked, and Dino had the ball, and it started registering to me. I done tipped the ball in for the other team, so he threw me the ball. So I knew right then I had to hit a jump shot. So I actually hit 4 points in about 8 seconds in this game, and I think it happened so quick. I'm not sure the crowd really realized all of what had happened.
This guy's so good, he's making them for both teams.
Yeah, but I knew I had to make that second one to make up for it.
Let's talk a little bit about Jake. Okay. Now, a lot of people know Jake, and eventually we're going to get him on this program, just find out how his dad had influence on him and that sort of thing. But everybody's known you as Bryan Cave, the baseball coach, and then all of a sudden you're Jake's daddy. Yeah,
that's a little different there. Yeah. It's happened there, and I get that a lot. But Jake's worked hard, and he's earned everything he's had. He plays the game hard, and I'm real proud of him.
Well, I know that the Yankees, he's in the Yankee organization, and cracked his kneecap in a slide into home, but doing good now.
Doing good. Missed out on going to the Dominican this winter, which he was looking forward to. But he understands that he's got to have some patience, and you got to, when you're making a living with your body, you've got to be healthy.
Well, you made a good statement to me. You can play hurt.
You can't play injured.
You can't play injured.
He tried to play injured, and he went out there, and they, somebody saw that he wasn't right and got him into X-ray MRI and saw where he had cracked his right kneecap there. No surgery, everything's fine. Bones will heal up, and usually don't have any more problem with him. But he's people that know Jake know he's revved up pretty high. His engine's going pretty good, and he doesn't like to sit around. So he's running in the pool, he's lifting, he's trying to get his body. He wants to get a little bigger, and you know, down to Yankees Complex, everything is there in Tampa there to do that.
Well, you're kind of low key. I mean, you've always been kind of low key. Jake hasn't.
No,
Jake's motor's running all the time.
All the time.
Where does he get that from?
I'm not sure. But you know, over the years I've had to get him to harness that in a little bit there. And I am low key for the most part. But when I do get on across the lines, I'm not going to say I'm a Jekyll and Hyde, but I am a little different person.
Right.
But Jake. You know, he loves to play, loves to hit, loves to compete, and in that I couldn't teach him. You know, he either have it or you don't.
Right,
I believe.
that's right. Just one last question.
Okay.
Recruiting. You have to recruit some of your players to come down there, and you go watch them play.
Sure.
And what do you say to the recruits? What's your spiel to them?
It depends on who it is. A lot of times I ask them if they have any problem getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning, working all day, playing ball in the evening, and then doing homework at night, and then turn around and doing the same thing the next day, which is basically what we are at the apprentice school there. But it's got to be somebody, and for various reasons, that a traditional college life might not be for them.
Right.
They may have a family. They may have relatives that they take care of financially or need to. They need to stay in the area. It's a whole lot of different reasons, but the big thing is we need somebody that wants to be. You don't grow up saying I want to go to apprentice school. Usually, it's something that you develop and you want to be there, and that's how. And we've had some good ones. We had Wayne Kirby came in, and Wayne's first base coach of the Baltimore Orioles right now. So Wayne played for us in the early '80s, and he's done well.
Yeah, yes, he has. Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thank you for tuning in to LFC and Sports Time. I want to thank my guest, Bryan Cave. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Till next time.